started making beats on Logic. Were you using Logic first, or were you using?
I made like Bhangra mashups on like Sony Acid, and then some like Future Shop. Like,
shout out Future Shop. Congratulations on everything, man.
Appreciate that, man.
It feels wild to talk to you, like just talking to you and your crew who are just really blowing up worldwide right now. So thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me, man. A lot of people around me told me about you, and I was like, dude, I really want to do this.
Well, they were liars.
No. My buddy was literally like, can you remind him about me? Because I really like him.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. Well, tell him hello for me.
Yeah.
You work with Ryan Tedder on this.
Yeah.
So Ryan Tedder, for people who don't know, frontman of OneRepublic, written and produced for Adele, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, made a Paul McCartney record one time, which I think was underrated, good record. This all started because you were in the studio together in LA?
Yeah. We just had a trip down to LA for, just making music. And came up Ryan Tedder's name, and he wanted to do something Punjabi. Sure enough, I went there, and we made that song in those couple hours, and didn't really know how to act in that situation. Really, we come from a very homegrown sound, and like
bedrooms,
the business of it is very much like that. And obviously, we've made the business a lot bigger now, but still not Ryan Tedder big, So I didn't really know what to do. But sure enough, I sent the song to Karan, and Karan loved it. I loved it, and everyone else loved it. He loved it. His band loved it. So it actually hasn't been that long since we made the song. It just happened to be that everyone loved it so much that we got to put it out quicker.
It's very cool. Isn't it very cool that he reached out to you? Like, he wanted to work with you.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. My my publisher, Savin Kotecha, he stays posting about, stuff happening with me, and stuff happening in the scene. So he reached out to Savin, and Savin, reached out to us. So it was very organic. It had everything to do with music. And I'm for the last while I've been like very focusing on songwriting. So that was important for me to be in the studio with someone like Ryan Tedder, who also focuses on songwriting.
I mean, obviously you have the biggest records in the world, so this might be a silly question, but do you feel fully comfortable in that big LA studio world?
Yeah, now I do. Yeah. Like I feel like if you put me there, even around the time that I did Making Memories, I probably wouldn't be as comfortable as I was, at the point I met Ryan. But it is scary though. Like, you don't want to. That's like, you get to meet someone that you've been wanting to meet, or you've been wanting to work with. You want them to, to want to work more. So it was cool when, as soon as we made the song, he went home. He's just texting me about the song, like, hey, I want to do this, I want to change this, and can you tell Karan to do this? I'm like, all right, cool, like, we're in then.
What, from a producer's perspective, I want to get your producer hat on for me now. What's going on with Karan? Like, what does he have? Because everything he touches, and I'm not just being like obsequious here, like everything he touches really seems to blow up.
Yeah.
What does he have that other people don't have?
I think he's just like super like open-minded. Like, he's not very particular about anything. He doesn't really care too much about this snare and that. Like, he's not trying to control what happens to the music. He's one of the very few people that understand that if it feels good, it's probably good. So he's not too much like he lets us do what we think sounds right, and we let him do what he thinks sounds right.
So what's the thing that he has that seems to be working?
Shit, I don't know. To me is that he's not afraid. Like, recently, even with Tell Me's rollout, a lot of people were kind of like, why is he doing this very TikTok-y, Hollywoody, Bollywoody type of, like, he should stick to his the way he's been doing things. And we were kind of scared that, is he gonna take this and coop up into a shell and be like, okay, I'm gonna start promoting different ways. Instead, he was like, no, I want to do it like this. So that's the thing that he's really good at. He's always good at doing new things and not caring about what other people have to say about it.
This is a bilingual track too. That's something that got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that decision.
Yeah, it was. I mean, purely, it just, the song was made and it just sounded too good, and that's where I would add Karan's kind of like bravery comes in, because a lot of people try to. Well, you got to imagine he's not afraid of anything, because even within his own people, the audience, he doesn't he tells them that if you want to listen to the old Karan, then just go listen to the old Karan, you know? So I find him very brave to just talk to his audience like that while he goes grabs a new audience, you know? So with this bilingual track, I mean, for a very long time, we've been trying to do something like this, but like I told you, my biggest focus is always songwriting. You know, if it's not a good written song, then no matter what feature or what stature of artist you get on a record, it doesn't work, you know?
When you say for a long time you've been trying to do a track like this, like a bilingual track?
Yeah, but like something with English, right? And we know that's important. I mean, it's important for me. I'm born here. I speak in English more than I speak in Punjabi, right? So I obviously want, as a producer, there to be a song that can live in both worlds. And this was that. It just happened to be organic.
So let's go back a little bit. I want people to understand how you've come to this moment you're having right now. So born in Toronto, Rexdale, right?
Yeah.
From what I was reading and from what I was watching getting ready for this, it seems like Punjabi music, big part of your life at home, really early.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was a kid. My dad was writing since he was in India.
What's your dad's name?
Ram Singh Sahota.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you. Shout out my dad. He was writing when he was back in India. It didn't really work out for him. So he just kind of put us into it for, just extra curriculum, stay away.
Writing music? He was writing music?
Yeah, he was writing music.
What kind of stuff?
Just traditional stuff. Not Newfoundland traditional.
That would be weird if you didn't.
Yeah. I'd question that a little bit.
I'd like to hear it, but it would be surprising. So traditional music and then was it any good?
It was good. I mean, like a lot of the stuff I bring to the studio, whether it's melody or whether it's instrumentation, it comes from him.
Really?
So, yeah.
So he came over here. He was a writer back home.
Yeah.
And he came over here.
Yeah.
And took a job.
I took a job. He was a forklifter for most of his life until I retired him. So up until then, it's been a lot about whatever he wants me to do with music.
Don't you skim over that line? You retired him?
Yeah, 2 years ago, or a year ago. Yeah.
You said, hey, I got you. What? Tell me. Do you mind telling me that?
No. Do I mind? No. My dad, he's been a big part of all of this. You know, like he's always been the strongest force. He's never been like, oh, you gotta do music. It's been whatever I touch my hands, whatever I touch my hands on, he was like, all right, I'm gonna do whatever I can to help you out with it. So even when music worked out and then didn't work out, he was still the strongest person in my corner, helping me out. He was very much vocal about what he didn't like that I was doing. Everything I was doing, he felt like he couldn't help me much more at a certain point when it comes to connections and management and stuff like that. But
sure.
But the stuff he didn't like, he would keep me tapped in with that. So so once things really started to blow up and once I knew I have more than enough to help out my parents, I retired my dad first.
You said, hey, you don't have to work anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
What a thing to be able to say to your dad. That must be meaningful, man.
Yeah, no, it was very meaningful. Like my father has just always been there, and so has my mother. And to me, that's my next step. Retire my mother next, and then we can do whatever we want to in life.
What's your mom's name?
Satnam Kaur Sahota.
Man, this is beautiful already. So let's go back. So a lot of music around the house growing up.
Yeah.
Just traditional music? Or?
Traditional Punjabi music, but traditional for at that time was also UK producers and Canadian artists, Jazzy B, Sukshinder Shinda. So it was traditional, but still hip hop and pop to me.
But you were playing harmonium and sarangi, right?
Yeah.
And you were doing bhangra, dancing.
Yeah.
Not every first generation kid in Canada would play traditional music or do traditional dancing. Yeah. Did you like it?
It's not even that they wouldn't do just traditional. Parents wouldn't really let kids do anything entertainment, or you know what I'm saying. It was mostly sports for after school and or just stay at school.
Right.
I enjoyed it though. Like I really really liked seeing the reward of it. When you get to sing in front of people, or you go compete in a dance competition and you win. Like the reward was really cool, and very much whatever I did at that time. It translates to everything I do today. When I'm on stage, when I'm touring, all those dancing competitions, it feels like that. Like you're not shy anymore. This is a competitive stage as well. you know, if you don't do good on this stage, someone else will, you know. So it very much everything I did as a kid is now coming into fruition. You know.
Did you dig playing harmonium and sarangi? Did you? Because I saw a video of you playing it. You're pretty great at it.
Yeah, I loved it. A lot of our songs are composed on the sarangi or the harmonium. Like it's just those are instruments I like, you know. And so whatever I can do to bring them to the limelight and to the world, that's what I want to do.
I should say your music, for people who don't know it, isn't just Indian. It isn't just Punjabi.
Yeah.
Really, we were talking about this, Cora and I. It's the sound of Toronto, a real mix of not just Punjabi, but like cultures and sounds. You grew up in the early 2000s in Rexdale. What music was playing around you?
I mean, a lot of it was just Punjabi.
Yeah.
But later on, I started listening to, you know, in high school, like Drake, just weird hip hop artists like Hopsin, just like random stuff. Because I never really expressed that I wasn't like Toronto cultured, you know?
I don't know what you mean.
Like, I mean, now that I look back, I was cultured, but I didn't feel like because I knew what was happening in hip hop in high school that I didn't want to get into a conversation where I looked dumb.
There were people. Oh wow! So there were people who knew hip hop better than you.
It was just I didn't know enough. That's all I'm saying. Like,
okay.
It's like I started listening to Drake at Views.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that was like 2014.
Yeah,
2015
but before that, he's already had what people love.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I mean. I was pretty late. You know, but that doesn't change the fact that I was growing up around sounds, though. You know, whether it was hip hop, whether it was reggae, a lot of reggae. I listened to a lot of reggae when I was a kid.
Like in the neighborhood, or
in the neighborhood, just finding out what people were playing. Hey, can you tell me what the name of the song is? And I would be able to jam to that. That's what I liked the most. Was I was introduced to sounds. I wasn't too much of a fan of like, oh, I'm a fan of this one particular artist. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you started making beats on Logic, were you using Logic first, or were you using?
I made like Bhangra mashups on like Sony Acid. And then some like Future Shop. Like my dad,
shout out Future Shop.
My dad went to Future Shop and got me a little tool. Yeah.
Sorry, man. I haven't heard the name Future Shop in so long.
And Future Shop is goated.
Can I also say bold name for a store?
Yeah. For it to not end up in the future.
We're the Future Shop. This is where the future lives. You know what? Turns out it's the past.
Yeah, exactly.
So hold on. So it was the music you were making then when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was like 10, 11 years old.
Was that fusing Bhangra and rhythms from Bhangra and traditional music, Punjabi music, and then like the reggae and hip hop and everything?
Yeah.
You were just kind of putting them all together. Even then,
yeah. Because my dad would be writing the songs, and I would compose them, and musically I would really just have like 2-3 elements that were Punjabi based. And everything else, I was just trying to, you know, find that sound that I wanted. Yeah.
You were writing for your dad.
No, he was writing for me.
Sorry, what I mean, but you were backing up your dad. Your dad was writing stuff.
No. Like they were written for me and my brother. Like because we were gigging. Like we would do like 2-3 shows a day, like in a weekend, every weekend. Every Saturday, 2 shows, Sunday, 2 shows. Like, we were kids, 11, 12 years old, singing at events and stuff like that. So it was music I was making to support our stage show. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Of course I do.
Yeah. It was our backing track.
Was he cool about fusing hip hop with this? And
yeah. His main thing has always been, like, no matter what you put in there, it's what the artist says. And if you're able to understand what he says the first time he says it. Like those are the type of things that he cared about more. Was like, all right, cool, like you're making these sounds, take this part out in the verse so you can hear more of the verse. So that's where I started learning arrangement and stuff like that, right? So it was like cool sounds, but here, let me help you out on how to arrange this and how to stand out more at the pre and how to make the hook the most, stand out. So just stuff like that, like he wasn't sure where the reggae sound was coming from. He didn't know the word reggae, but he knew how to arrange things or just how to make them sound better.
It also sounds like he had a value for the, because a lot of producers get stuck in beats and rhythms and textures. It sounded like he taught you like, hey, there's words here that are important.
Yeah. He taught me how to make a song. I've never been every now and then when I'm bored, I'll make a beat, but I've never been really a beat maker. I've more just been you sit in the studio and you find a song, So he's always been a big part of even till today. I'll show him a song, he'll tell me I don't get this part, I don't understand this part. Like, it's either the music or the consonants have to change in this lyric, or it's got to be delivered with some more emphasis or less emphasis, just stuff like that. Like, it's just, I now get why it's so important to have all that.
When you were a teenager at that stage, did you see a place for Punjabi sounds in pop music?
Yeah, because just culturally, I was a turban dude hanging around with non-turban dudes, just hanging around with Toronto people, right?
Yeah.
So it made sense for it to happen. And when I was a kid, there was this artist named Jazzy B. He had really broken those barriers already with a couple, like certain people knew who he was or some of his songs. And so I was like, there's a place for us. We just got to figure it out.
But my question on that, like, 'cause I want to play another track like that. Just take a listen to this.
Live from United States, Brooklyn, New York, it's your boy, Young. The nephews is in the house. As soon as the beat drop, we got the streets locked overseas.
Ikky, can you tell us what that is?
Mundian to Bach Getting by Jay-Z and Punjabi MC.
Was that a meaningful tune for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just here. All right.
Tell me the truth.
Let me tell you the
Jay-Z's
truth.
not here.
Yeah.
We can lock the door. It's all right.
Here's what I'm afraid of, right? Is saying that something is overplayed, right? Obviously, it's a great tune, right? But when it gets overplayed, you start hating it.
Yeah.
I think I started not liking it because it became sort of, if you walk into a certain party or something and you're the only turban guy there, they'll drop that song.
Is that so?
That is, yeah. So other than that, what I'm afraid of here is having a song in my catalog at some point that is overplayed, and now you fear that that's gonna happen to you.
The reason we wanted to play it for you is because that song came out like 20 years ago.
2000, yeah.
Sold millions of units, topped the charts all over the world. We're 20 years on and having this Punjabi music explosion right now. Why didn't it happen then? Like, what took so long for it to catch on?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but
do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah. I completely know what you mean. That's why I've always been in a very team mindset, because I understand that to play any competitive game, you gotta have, it's kind of like a chessboard. You got your pawns and you got your horses. So I felt like at that time, what happened was you got this one record, but there's nothing else, buzzing into that same door. No other Punjabi producers, no more Punjabi collaborations. The setup wasn't there. And so I think that's what's different now, is 20 years later, is we're actually trying to build that foundation and not just find a hit. It's like, okay, how can we have a big team that feeds a bigger team, the infrastructure. That's the word I'm looking for.
But what led to that? Is it just that a bunch of people were kids when that came out and they all grew up, or
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like, are you talking about today, or are you talking about then?
Or what changed that you have, like, all of a sudden there's this team, all of a sudden
I think it's just kids learning business. That's it. The wildest thing about India still today has always been talented and creative, but very slow in business. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't think about, you can have a hit, but then how about the next year and the year after that, and then the 10 years after that? How are we going to make money? And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of it has been, you get a hit and then other people make the money and you don't make the money.
Yeah, famously.
Right.
How did you figure that out?
Nah, how did I figure that out? By first going through it.
Oh, you did, hey?
Yeah, I went through it for years, and you kind of just have to put your foot down, But I was young enough, though. Like, I had my first hit at 17, and then by the time I was 20, I was like, enough is enough, right? But at 20, I was like, okay, I'm gonna change my name. I'm gonna see if these records are hits because I'm good at what I do, or it's just something else, or flukes or whatever. So I said, I'm 20 years old. I could change my name. I could retry this, and if it doesn't work, I'm still young enough and don't have enough ego to not go work a 9 to 5.
If you have to.
If I have to,
Yeah.
right? So first year of being Ikky was kind of slow, and then it figured itself out. Yeah.
Why did you go for the name change?
Cause I was like, I don't want people to associate with that, with Gwinder. It's not that the name comes with something, but it was just that business model and
You wanted to restart.
Yeah, I wanted to restart fully. I didn't want artists to come to me for that. I wanted the fresh slate. That Ikky is gonna ask for publishing. He's gonna ask for master points. He's gonna come for the full effect.
So this is the portion where we go through a couple of these hit records.
Yeah.
And we talk a little bit about them. So let's start out with this one.
So slow.
It is slow. Tell the folks at home what that is.
I'm trying to remember. That was after
It's Baller.
Chauffeur. Yeah, Baller. Yeah, that was. See, Shub was just starting to come up, and me and him were talking while I was in my shift of becoming an Ikky. And
How did you get in touch with him? How did you know him?
just Instagram. That's the internet, So the internet brought us together. I come back to Toronto. He's like, "Are you here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he comes over, and kid you not, I think he already had the lyrics written, like the first half. And we made the beat right there and then, and 10 minutes later, it was this.
How did that end up changing your life?
Yeah, honestly, it did. Like, because it kind of put, like I said, the whole Ikky thing was happening, and a lot of people, the older folks that I was working with that I had a lot of success with, they didn't. I'm not sure that if they didn't understand it or if they didn't want to understand it.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know if they wanted to change the business to...
The folks you had been working with up until that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Shub was new. And here was Ikky, who was also, to most people now, new again. Not a lot of people knew the connection between Gwinder and Ikky. So this song put Ikky on the map. You know what I'm saying? That, okay, this kid, there's this kid. And then a lot of people started... because there's a lot of similarities between the music, and a lot of people connected the dots. So this song really helped people kind of transition to who I am, like understanding what I want to do.
Is there give me an example of it's not out on a Monday, and it comes out on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then give me an example of what changes then.
Nothing even, this Ryan Tedder song came out today. I'm not going to know what changed for 2-3 months.
Fair enough.
So,
but are there more phone calls? When you say, you said it changed your life. That's what I'm...
No, I'll say it changed my life within the industry. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people got note from that, okay, he's getting publishing points off of this, and this is how he's doing this, how much he got paid. Like, it changed the perception of music, because Shub was new and was able to not listen to other people and just try out this new thing we want to do of splitting pub, and for him to also learn pub. That was probably his first time learning about publishing, as it was for me. So it changed things in the business that people started to understand a little more, that if you just make music like this, it could be big too.
I mean, it was massive.
Yeah, it was massive.
I mean, it's fun to talk about the publishing and the business, but that combination of pop and hip hop and Punjabi music, like you said, is not there were artists who were doing it before, but something that you started doing, man. Right?
I think a bigger part of it that is just underlying somewhere there is the Toronto part, for sure. And even him, he's from India, but while the time I met him, he was living in Milton, so I'm pretty sure he was very affected by Toronto as well. It was shot in Toronto, in the subway station and stuff like that. So a lot of my music, as soon as it became very Toronto influenced, which is like me putting that was probably one of the first 5 songs where I had music control. Like, hey, can I do this? Can I add this? Can I do that? Can I, you know what I'm saying? Whereas before that was always do this, put this there. You know what I'm saying? So I was more of a arranger before, and this time I got to be a producer.
But it also sounds like it was really authentic. Like it sounds like once you started making music that was not trying to be something else, that was authentic to Toronto, authentic to the actual way you are. That's when it hit.
Yeah.
There's a lesson there, man.
And it was very different from a lot of the things that had happened in the past. Like just musically, I mean, if someone's a producer, listen to this. Like a lot of people before that love having like a subtle intro, a subtle verse, subtle pre, and then the hook. This song just the same beat for 3 minutes, and that to me was like, okay, cool, that's good songwriting right there.
Let's hear another track. So this is from Making Memories. We were talking about this record earlier with Karan Aujla. It ends up becoming the highest rated Punjabi album debut in Canadian history. I got some facts on that. Let's hear the big hit though.
चुन्नी मेरी रंग दे ललारिया वे चुन्नी मेरी रंग दे ललारिया मेरे यार दी गड्डी दे नाल दी चुन्नी मेरी रंग दे ललारिया वे मेरे यार दी गड्डी दे नाल दी ओता पंगे लगदे आ ओनु चंगे लगदे आ
In case anyone needs some context, when that album came out, it was charting higher in Canada than the new Taylor Swift record, Midnights. What did that tell you about the appetite for Punjabi music in this country?
We went into this project knowing we were gonna do something like
Really?
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, like I'm a very I think Making Memories helped solidify this, but like making plans was definitely like such a absurd thing for Punjabi music and Punjabi artists. Like, why would we plan if we make a song today? Let's just put it out tomorrow. So I had planned this for like a year and a half. I took Karan and his boys and my boys on a journey in that, and when I didn't know that it was gonna do that specifically, chart at that,
Beat Taylor Swift on the charts.
Yeah. I didn't know it was gonna do that, but I knew this would be our way to level up, and it was. It was just the music was just, even for me to look back, I'm like, how do I make another album like this?
Can you?
Absolutely, I can.
I didn't mean it like a dare. I mean it more like sometimes I think about the things that we make when we're young and we don't know any better. Those things.
I mean, like I said, that came up with the plan, and part of the plan was to make new albums. To be able to make an album good enough to let you make more.
Can you give me an example of something you saw or heard or something that made you realize that got streamed almost 300 million times on just Spotify. Mm-hmm. Give me an example of something you saw or you heard or were told that made you realize that you had a real global hit on your hands.
Prior to it coming out?
When that came out?
Nothing really, to be honest. And not a lot of people really believed in that song specifically, Softly. That was my favorite song from the beginning, from the day we made it. But at some point, even you start going like, okay, maybe it's not the best song. But 2-3 months later, it picked up.
When it did pick up, did you have any moment where like someone you really respected reached out to you, or like someone you cared about? Like, did you have any moment where you heard it somewhere you weren't expecting? Like, how did you know how big it got is my question.
My LA trips. Like when I started showing the music, or when we were in the studio with like Ryan, when dumb people was saying like, this is my favorite song, or I like this album, or I like the aesthetic of this. And like a lot of the rooms I got into was because of the album, right? So that's probably, as a producer, how I knew we did a good job, is going into those LA rooms.
You knew that all of a sudden, hey, people were paying attention to me in the way that
absolutely. Because I'd been going to LA, and as a lot of Canadians been going to LA to do the same thing, right? And I'd been going there, and I felt frustrated. I'm like, they don't really care about us, right? But this one, for some reason, and it's not even like it's a huge success in America, but this one, when you show it to people were like, I like this, I want to be a part of this.
Did you hear it coming out of cars or anything like that? Is that exciting?
Oh, yeah, but that was happening a long time ago, so it didn't change anything this time.
That's still exciting, though. Right?
Yeah, it's very exciting.
There's a new category at the Junos this year for Best South Asian Music Recording. Make sure to say the Junos doesn't necessarily speak for the entire country. However, is it meaningful to see how the Canadian music industry is reacting to Punjabi music?
Yeah, man. It's... You want to be recognized as well, right? It's like, it's one thing to make music that charts, and that's its own recognition, but sometimes you want someone to say your name or your buddy's name, you know. So it was already very awesome when me and Karan went on that stage last year, and AP went on the stage before that. Like, you know, that's enough recognition for us. But this is just adding more spice to it and making us bigger.
I mean, it's bigger than ever. You're one of the people putting Canada on the map when it comes to Punjabi music, when it comes to pop music in general. Very similar to the way that Drake did for hip hop. Very similar to the way that The Weeknd did for R&B. What would you like to see happen from here?
I would like for Canadians to kind of open their mind a little more.
Tell me.
You know, I'm sure that more of your listeners are non-Punjabi than they are.
That's right.
And I think when we did the Junos, a lot of people were upset about it.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just people were like, if this is Canada, I don't want to be a part of it. And I was like, I'm born here, though. You know, like, I'm born here. This is my culture. I am influential to Canadian culture as much as Canadian culture has influenced me. So I want to see Canada kind of open their minds up to music, at least, like, especially like with this Ryan Tedder song. I want to see how Canada reacts to this, you know.
That's so interesting. I'll just say it because I'll say it back to make sure I understand it. Like when Karen Coes or AP Dillon went on the year before, they go on the Junos. I was in, man. I was in Halifax when that happened.
That was in Halifax.
Yeah. And I remember talking to fellas that night around who were like, and they were Punjabi. They were like, we just went home. Like, there was no one out. Like, everyone was home watching that in that moment. I could see it as a real source of pride, and it seemed like such a positive story. However, maybe online or YouTube comments or Twitter or something like that, you saw people sort of say, this isn't Canada, this isn't us.
Specifically, it was this headline that said the future of Canada. Not specifically, it was just Punjabi music. It was a lot of Juno stuff happening on that headline. But the front cover was Karan. And just, like, I kid you not, like 1,000 comments with the same kind of narrative. And I was like, that's kind of disappointing, though.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't my, I actually didn't think I would bring it up here, but now that I'm talking to your listeners,
please,
you know,
please.
and to be fair with you, like, my whole team is not Punjabi. So I know they love it. You know, I just want to know what I can do to make it more to your favor, you know, or how do we collaborate here?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think that's on you. I don't think that's anything that you can do. In fact, I'll quote Ryan Tedder from OneRepublic, who said, anyone who's not paying attention to India or Southeast Asia right now on a cultural tip, on a musical tip, is asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, that's all I care about. Look, for me, it's just music. I don't really care about anyone's political. I don't care about how anyone feels, this and that. I just care about music. You know what I'm saying? So when I see my partner Karan Aujla getting these comments and stuff like that, I'm just saying, man, come on. Like, I don't think we did something terrible. Like, it's just music, you know?
It's powerful music, and it's good music. Yeah, it's just good. I don't know, man.
Hold on, do you like it?
Yeah, man.
All right, then I'm happy.
Yeah, man. Of course I do. You know, come on. Like, and I was actually talking about that on the radio this morning. I did this thing about, like, the Junos are coming up, and they were like, "How do you feel about the future of BC music?" It was for BC, and I said, "You need to know." And maybe this was the thing to say in the CBC. I was like, "You need to know that actually BC music, speaking of Karan and producers out of BC, is global Canadian music right now. Mm-hmm. That's the Canadian music that's getting the most play, the most attention. The thing that perhaps in BC and in Canada, or in Ontario, perhaps we should be the most proud of. Yeah. In terms of our musical export, in terms of people who are selling out football stadiums, in terms of people who are getting cajillions of streams, is Punjabi Canadian music.
Yeah, I would say Punjabi Canadian music is a big export in Canadian music right now. Like, it's just like. It's just kind of part of the plan, right? It's like you want the system to agree with it, and I'm very much into, like, make your own town like what you're doing, and then make your country like what you're doing, and then make your, you know what I'm saying, get bigger from theirs.
You know, I can see people all over this country digging this music.
Yeah, and they do. I'm just nitpicking the small parts.
You're not nitpicking it, man. You're talking about something pretty awful that's going on right now. Listen, looking back on the story you told me, that, like, your dad, you know, coming over and writing songs, and you playing traditional music, and then sort of fusing that, and then coming from, like, really, like, bedroom laptop music, future shop music,
future shop music,
to having this global success out of Canada. It's a big question, but what are you the most proud of when it comes to your own journey here?
To be able to take care of my parents. That's for sure. That's the number one thing I'm most proud of. Like, growing up, a lot of, in rec still, you kind of saw a lot of like separation between parents and kids. So to be at my age and still have love for my parents because of my job and my career, like I think I'm most proud of that. I think most people in my position probably would be like, all right, mom and dad, y'all go take care of yourself. I'm gonna kick it over here.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I feel like the country's incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
I feel like it's an incredibly one of the coolest Canadian success stories I've ever seen in my time doing this show.
Thank you. I'm young. I just want to keep doing more for Canada, for myself, and for Punjabi music.
I'm excited to hear what else happens. Thanks for coming in, hey?
Thank you for having me.
This was joyful.